So the STEAMPIPE from Erica, bit of an oddity in the world of modern hardware synthesizers. It's a physical modeling synth with the goal of reproducing acoustic style sounds. Quite a different experience to your average subtractive synthesizer. So it's capable of doing like plucked and bowed strings and wind instruments and metallic bell sounds and all sorts of weird and wonderful kind of faux acoustic style sounds. The advantage over its acoustic counterparts is, of course, that with the tweak of a few knobs, you can morph your sound into something entirely new. So there's no samples whatsoever in this thing. All the tones are generated from scratch using a method called Karplus-Strong synthesis, which, to put simply, is just using tuned delay feedback lines to generate tones. I have not come across another hardware synthesizer that's really tackled this in anything but a really rudimentary take on it. Two exceptions to that would be Mutable Instruments Rings and Elements Eurorack modules. Probably the Elements is fairly similar and close to this, but it's not polyphonic, whereas the STEAMPIPE is polyphonic, and the STEAMPIPE just in general goes a lot further with the idea. So let me take you through how this thing actually works. So I've got the default patch loaded up now, patch number 1. It's pretty basic, nothing much going on with it. So I'm going to strip this back even further and take you through how each of these sections interact to give us our tones. Alright, so I've stripped this patch back, so now all we're hearing is this. This is just the generator section, and as you can hear, it's just a white noise generator. We've got a few ways we can alter the character of this sound. We've got a low pass filter here with resonance. We've got an ADSR envelope over the amplitude along the top here. And we've got this gain knob and DC noise knob, which I'm just going to turn down to demonstrate because it is quite a hefty amount of gain on tap here. Takes you right into really nasty storm territory, or like radio static, or just like a mild drizzle. But that's about the gist of it. It's just a noise generator, and its whole purpose is to give our feedback section something to chew on in the sort of harmonic spectrum to generate our tones. So check out what happens. Let me just dial this back to something more tame. And check out what happens if I bring in some of this feedback on the feedback section here. Bit of decay, bit of release. Now hopefully we should have something resembling a guitar. Or some kind of stringed instrument. And I'm just going to turn on a sequence actually because it'll make my life a lot easier here. So what we're actually hearing here is the tuned delay lines. This is Karplus-Strong in action. So if you've ever had like a delay pedal and you've turned the feedback all the way up and you get that runaway oscillation effect, that's kind of like what's happening here, just way more precise and controlled. Now that we have this tone, there's a number of ways we can sort of alter the timbre of it. Firstly, we could wind down that cutoff frequency on the generator. So it just sounds like this now. It's a more mellow sort of string pluck. And it provides less of the spectrum for our feedback to chew on and generate the tones. We could bring in some attack and we'll get a more bowed string-like sound. The feedback section has this push knob which pushes the feedback a bit harder. When combined with this saturation effect, can really kind of beef up your signal. Got to be a bit careful here, you can easily overdrive things. You can hear that top end's got a bit of bite to it now. Down here in the delay box section, we have our hard tuning. We've got a really broad frequency spectrum we can go between. Fine tuning does what you'd expect, but the harmonics knob is really interesting, so we can go focus in on the higher harmonics in the feedback loop, or we can wind it back and get these really inharmonic sounds. We can also split this feedback line and have two different sort of harmonic points, and we can adjust that with the split point and get these really kind of metallic textures. Pretty cool. There's so many sweet spots in there. And we can flip the polarity of our feedback loop as well, which sort of phases half of it out and gives you something resembling a square wave. Down here we have two filters. We have the high pass filter and low pass filter. And interestingly, these are within the feedback path, so they have kind of an effect that's a little unusual. So they're not just filters tacked onto the end of your signal chain, they're actually within the feedback loop. And you'll hear the tuning actually change a little bit. Now, I believe this is because filters inherently change the phase of a signal, and if you change the phase of a signal in a feedback loop, it's going to slightly adjust the tuning, I believe. And interestingly, Erica have given us a way around this. If you go into the tuning menu, you've got high pass and low pass compensation tuning controls available here. So if you do find a sweet spot within the high pass and low pass filters and you want to save it as a preset, you can make sure that it's still in tune. Over here we have a drift control, which is already all the way up, well, not all the way up, about halfway up, but it introduces some detune and just sort of thickens up your signal, but it really comes into effect when you've got a really sort of thick bed of sound to work with. Let's bring in some of this reverb. We have a glide control here as well. It's not going to do anything on this sequence, but I think you all know what a glide control does. Moving along to our LFO section, we have 5 LFOs to work with on this thing, which is an excellent amount of LFOs. So thank you, Erica, for giving people like me plenty to play with. We can select our LFOs here, dial in the destination by bringing up the destination list here, and you can actually just wiggle the knob that you're after, hit enter, and then bring in the amount. And you can morph between the different shapes on the panel here. You can sync it to your tempo, you can introduce a delay as well, and you've got a manual speed control there. And last but not least, we have this really wonderful reverb on this thing. Shout out to manufacturers that actually give us some really, really nice effects on their hardware. Novation and Electron, you also spring to mind. But yeah, this is such a nice reverb. Kind of a lexicon style reverb, I think. It's got that big washy sound to it. I'm just gonna have a play around for a couple of minutes now and see what sort of sounds I can find, and yeah, we'll have some fun. We're going to leave it there today, but just one more feature I want to shout out real quick. You can actually run an external signal through this thing to replace the generator section, enabled with this switch here. So it could be really cool to run some signals like drums through this thing, or even like a field recording to get some interesting textures. Definitely something to experiment with if you pick one of these up. I've had a really awesome time getting to know the STEAMPIPE. It's a really, really unique synthesizer, and it was originally a Reactor plugin made by these guys at 112dB. It's still available, I believe, if you prefer the software format, but man, it really does suit a physical manifestation because you can just really dive into the controls and you can just kind of lose yourself in finding those amazing sounds. As soon as I started playing around with this thing, I was thinking of producers like Fortet, who often incorporate sort of acoustic recordings into their electronic music. But man, you could use this in so many different genres. I keep thinking of like industrial techno and how good it'd be to use it in that with all these like really metallic discordant stab sounds and evolving drones and that sort of thing. But even like ambient music as well, you've got these beautiful, pristine, plucky sounds that would really suit further processing with granular processors and random loopers and that kind of thing. You could have a lot of fun with the STEAMPIPE in that kind of context. I really love the form factor of this thing as well. It's quite big, really nicely spaced out, which is awesome for live performance. Really sturdy metal enclosure, the classy wooden sides. Made in Latvia with love. What's not to like? I think we've got these on demo in all of our stores now at Store DJ, so swing by and take one for a spin if you're interested. or check it out online. I'll leave a link in the description. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mike. I'll see you in the next one.